Hello, one and all. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. This frosty, cold time of year. In truth, we're previewing races with everything crossed that they are going to be on. We have got two tracks we're going to preview for you this weekend. There's some rearranged racing. That is Kempton's Benefit, who get the Relkeel hurdle coming over from Cheltenham on New Year's Day, which was abandoned. And we've also got Chepstow we're going to preview, which is back off the back of not happening on the 27th. But hopefully they get to run the Welsh National and the Grade 1 for juveniles as well. But there is going to be an inspection Friday afternoon. So if you're listening to this after that and Chepstow hasn't passed its inspection, unless you just want to hear us talk, you might want to skip through the Chepstow races. But there you go. The timestamps will be on the link for this on YouTube, etc., and on the podcast. How are we, everyone? Micheál Deasy is with us. Adele Mulrennan is with us. And Steve Jones is back with us as well. Everyone all good, full of the joys of 2021. What a start it's been. Unbelievable year so far. But well, look, we're going to warm ourselves up with some racing. Deasy, you got the Matchbook offer for us. Take it away, bud.
Yeah, so our sign-up offer at the moment is a bet 10, get 10 offer. So if you sign up to Matchbook at the moment and place your first bet of £10 or more on any market site at odds of 2.0 or more, we will give you another £10 when that bet settles. So it's a great offer and well worth using this weekend and one of our best bets, I think. You can see full details of the offer if you go to the homepage, matchbook.com, and click on the promotions tab on the homepage, and you'll get the full details there.
Yeah, absolutely. 18 plus. Be gamble aware as ever for that bet 10, get 10 offer. Right, hands up first of all. Jonesy, you were on the pod last week, weren't you? It wasn't our finest week of punting. Well, we'd had such a good run, and then 2021 happened. Cheltenham didn't go ahead. Look, sometimes we hit crossbars, and sometimes we just send it right over the top into Rosette.
Yeah, you can't hit the target every week, I suppose, but yeah, a little bit disappointing. It was good sport though. Perhaps we get back on track now. We've got the first weekend out of the way.
Exactly. Colo_MJ says, has Jonesy had a haircut? We know the answer to that. No, definitely not. It's nearly a cape, Jonesy.
I was going to have it cut soon, but we're in lockdown. I follow the laws of the land.
What can you do?
I'm not like our cousins across the Atlantic who don't particularly follow the laws of the land. I do.
Yeah. Adele, how are you coping? I mean, it's looking in great order, I've got to say. It's looking very well styled. And
I have to dye it myself now. And then I've got to do Paul's hair as well. So he literally wants it cut in every week. Every week.
See, I find that people with very short hair do that. But yeah, he doesn't dye it, does he? He's happy for it.
It's really hard to blend as well. I found that out. It's very difficult. And then he shows me these pictures of hairstyles that are like, Paul, I'm not a hairdresser. I can't do that.
For anyone that doesn't know what Paul looks like, that's a picture of him just behind Adele there, the grey. No, he is the desert orchid of the jockey world. Deasy, you coping with the hair? Yeah, you're good?
Yeah, all good, Tom. Yeah, I just get up in the morning and it's fine.
Yeah, there it is. Good man.
And right. I'm sure he's getting a cut every week for aerodynamic purposes, same as myself. It cuts out a few seconds when we're going somewhere. You know, that's probably the reason.
Nice and streamlined, Paul Mulrennan. Let's get into the race previews then. So we're going to start off. We're not doing Wincanton. The Dipper had a very poor turnout, just the three runners. And in truth, I think it'll be a minor miracle if Wincanton's on. I think -3 temperatures this morning, so it's going to be unlikely. So we're going to start off with Kempton action. We've also got two from. We're going to start off with the Juvenile final from Chepstow. Then we've got 3 from Kempton. Then we've got the Welsh National, and then one more from Kempton. So the Juvenile final. Look, it looks a fascinating renewal. Once again, the Moors look to have a really nice horse here. And then Paul Nicholls is making it altogether pretty interesting by turning up with a horse we haven't seen before, who comes out of France with a very good bit of form. So Nassalam, who is currently around about the 2.1 mark. Who Grease for Paul Nicholls is 4.0. Adagio, who was very good at Cheltenham last time, is 6.5. 8.0 for Elton Valley, then into the double figures. Go on, Jonesy, kick us off with this. I'm interested. What do you make of the Paul Nicholls runner? He's won it 2 times in the last 10 years, but they were with horses who had a little bit of experience. Where do you stand on this horse making his UK debut?
Well, Bristol De May made his UK debut, I think, in this race and won it. So that's no barrier to success. And the French imports do tend to be dominating the juvenile divisions these days, which is another pointer to him. But it's really hard to take French form at face value when they're coming over to stables like this. But you've got to respect his chances. But there again, in the market, he's short enough for basically what is a guess. If you back Hugri, you're basically betting the connections and the fact that they've had success in this race and the path from France. And although that does add up, it's still a guess. The horse might be the next Corto star, but he might be absolutely useless. It's probably the most reasonable explanation is he's somewhere in between. But yeah, I wouldn't want to back him, to be honest, because I just don't like going into the unknown with that. And I certainly don't want to back Nassalam. I think, although he's been hugely impressive, the substance of the form, I think if you're going in odds on Nassalam, I mean, he might be a horse who is got a huge amount of ability. But I think, again, we're getting carried away with the Gary Moore, the fact that he had Goshen, who dominated the juvenile division last year, and along comes Nassalam, and immediately this is the next Goshen. And although he won by a country mile at Fontwell, first time up, having also come over from France, the horse he beat was another French import who had a rating of 130, which is pretty high for a juvenile at this stage of the season. But he came out at Market Raisin and bombed out again. And then Nassalam went to Fontwell, or returned to Fontwell, again on testing ground, which will bode well for the run at Chepstow. And he beat a 200 to 1 shot, ridden by Danny Burton, bless him. And so the substance isn't there for me for an odds-on shot. I know he's been winning these races by a wide mile, but he's not even come off the bridle yet. We haven't seen him under pressure. So I want to take those 2 on. I like Adagio. I thought he was very impressive last time at Cheltenham, which was his second good run at Cheltenham, because he'd also finished second to Dufflecoat, who has been a star for Gordon Elliott in a Grade 2 at Cheltenham. But the one I'm most interested in is Allen Valley, and I can't believe it's 4th in, because I was really impressed with him at Sandown. Okay, he wasn't all that great on the flat, but I don't get carried away with flat ratings when they go hurdling, especially when a horse like Allen Valley does what he did first time up at a track like Sandown, when he beat another Gary Moore horse, Hudson de Grugy, and another of today's or this weekend's runners, an unpronounceable Yggdrasil, who I'm reliably informed is a sacred tree in Norse mythology. So I think it's easier to say that than it is the horse's name. But Allen Valley, really impressed with him at Sandown, went through the race well. He jumped well enough, but there was enough to think that he will improve again. He handled the testing ground. And 4th favourite, I think he's a great bet, to be honest. I think he's every right to be up there with the best of them in this. And yeah, I fancy him. And Fergal O'Brien going really well again. Trains 2 miles that way. Nearly pointed in the wrong direction there. So yeah, a lot going for him, Allen Valley, and way overpriced for me.
You're one of those people that when people come to the Cotswolds and say, which way to the... And you go, yeah, just carry on down there. Off you go. And then you walk away and you go, let's go. It's that way. Yeah, exactly that. Okay, 7.0 for Ellen Valley, for Fergal O'Brien. Look, this is not a tip. I've got a horse for every other race except this one. I absolutely agree with what Jonesy said on I couldn't back Nassalam, and I couldn't back Paul Nicholls runner at the prices. but equally, I don't have anything strongly enough that I want to take them on with. This is a watching brief for me. So no official selection for me. Adele, what about yourself?
I've got it down as a watching brief as well. I mean, I was impressed by Nassalam, and also Jamie was grinning from ear to ear about him, which he's going to do because he won so impressively, but he just didn't beat a lot. That was the only thing. He hasn't even gone for a stick on him yet, so we still don't know. I did like the French horse though, Hugri. I did think his win last time in France, he did show some very smart professionalism. It was a bit of a tough race for him. He looked like he had a really good attitude. No surprise to see the first 3 horses from that race all come over to Britain. The 4th has gone on being placed in a listed race. I was kind of hoping it would be a bit of a bigger price, but I presume the betting will stay with those 2 at the top. I think he's already shortened up already, Hugri. So it is a watching event for me. It's very hard to back Nassalam with the fact that he hasn't really beaten much. He had a dirty scope, didn't he, I think, before. So an extra 2 weeks to get over that. He must have scoped fine. I presume they will have scoped him again before Dex today. So I'm sure all's fine with that. But watching brief for me, I'm quite interested in the French horse to see how he fares on his first start for Nichols.
Yeah, that form looks pretty good, and that listed runner who you mentioned, if you sort of take the 4th there, if you base his rating on that, he could be very good, but we just don't know. Adele, what when you see a horse like Nassalam who isn't asked any questions and doesn't come off the bridle, how do you measure the quality of the performance? If you see what I mean, both on the flat and over jumps, would you almost rather a horse has been asked a question, or how do you gauge how good a horse is when they've had to effectively beat nothing and be asked no questions?
I don't care how far one wins, but when they have to come into a battle, that is when you want to see their kind of like attitude. And I've seen it already this season. I've seen it with horses that have won by, large margins. And then when they come down to having to actually like get stuck in, you kind of see their attitudes change completely. And you see that they don't see the race through like you would expect them to see. That is just what I would want. That is what I would have wanted already. Just wanting to see get into a battle just to see what his attitude's like. He's beat nothing yet. And you don't really know, what's he going to be like when he comes down to the nitty gritty and he has to, tough it out.
Yeah, I always remember Altior just beating Chibello. I think it was in a Cheltenham novice hurdle. And he had to really knuckle down. And then look what he did subsequently. And it was always a good get. He hadn't looked too flashy, but he turned out to be all right. Anyway, DC, have you got a bet for the race?
Yeah, I like Ellen Valley was the one I picked out of the rest of them. What I was going to suggest in this now, there is the 8 runners. If it goes to 7 runners tomorrow, because Bannister is declared elsewhere. If it goes 7 runners, I would be suggesting some kind of a reverse each way kind of bet on Nassalam. I would say lay him to win and lay him to place. If he could be odds on tomorrow, so I mean, let's say if he goes to about 1.9. I would be doing maybe a quarter stake on laying him to win, and then the rest of it to lay him to place, because he's going to be about 1.4, 1.5 to place. All he has to do is get 2 horses to beat him. It's quite possible. I mean, he's won his 2 races by 108 lengths, I think, combined. Like there could be, there's a few decent horses. Ellen Valley, Adagio, and Hugri. Like it would only take 2 of them to beat him for that bet to land both sides of it. And if you're place laying him a short odds, you stand to lose only a small bit of your stake. So that would be the way I would play it if I was going to have a bet in the race. But I would be quite happy just to sit and watch this now, to be honest.
Are you more likely to play if it goes to 7 runners?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if it's 3 runners, I wouldn't be place laying him, because there's a good chance you get in the top 3 just by pure ability. But if it's 7 runners, I would place lay him, just because he's going to be a very sharp price, and it's a small risk for nice reward.
And if he is supported, and the 8 stand their ground, 1.9 sort of your marker, is it? If he hits that, you might just oppose.
I would. Yeah, I'd be opposing him anyway. I just, for all the reasons that the Adele and Steve said, like he's beat nothing, and he's a sharp price fab. I mean, you shouldn't be backing him, especially 4-year-olds, in juvenile hurdles. This wouldn't be my kind of race at all. But I would be wanting to take him on, I think. And Ellen Valley won very well in heavy ground. That wasn't actually heavy at Sandown that day, so I thought he was a good bet as well. But I'd rather just lay Nassalam and have the whole field running for me against him.
Lovely stuff. A few of your lays have come good so far this year. So that's our opinion on that juvenile final, the Grade 1 contest. We move on to Kempton. Got a few coming up from Kempton. First of them is the 145. That's a 3-mile handicap chase. And as it stands at the moment, Rocco just edging favouritism, 6.5 from Commodore, who's half a point bigger. Good old double shuffle is 8.0, as is 2 for Gold, 9.0 for Q-Star Civiler. Then we get into the double figures. I'll give you the prices for horses if you want to look at the bigger prices. Adele, who do you like for this and why?
I'm going to go for double shuffle for a place bet. I was hoping it might be double figures. What did you say he was?
He's about 8.0. Let me confirm for you. Yes, he is. Currently 8.0. You know, your place bet, you're still making money if he does. You wouldn't back him for the win, no?
Probably not. He loves it at Kempton. He's got some really good form there. I mean, he hasn't won since 2016, but you know, second in the King George in 2017. I just thought if he's got any fire left in his belly, like he's down to a good mark of 140. So he's just an interesting place bet for me. Brian Hughes, I know, is looking forward to riding Commodore as well. So he'd be one kind of up the top to have maybe a little bit of a win bet. But double shuffle, I'm hoping. Be nice to see him back in the winners' enclosure.
He looks a very well treated horse. Won't be nice to see him back in the winners' enclosure if you don't back him for the win.
He goes and wins.
Yeah, absolutely. He is a very well treated horse, and we know he likes the track. He finished. Was it Mike Bites King George? It was, wasn't it? Yeah. And he was second in a King George. Sorry, Adele, what did you say at the end there?
I think he's just taken a little bit more time to get fitter as well as he gets older. So he's already got a couple of runs under his belt this season. So hopefully he's just knocking there now.
Jonesy, double shuffle's a horse you probably, given your time that you spent with Tom George, you probably know a bit about the horse. Where are you with him? Where's your head with double shuffle?
Yeah, he's a grand horse, and I think it was a bit disappointing that the Grand National was called off last year, because I think he could have run really well in it. He is what he is. He's exposed. He didn't look. He certainly wants better ground, which didn't help him last season. And that's hence he's come down in the handicap, and that's not really a good thing for him, because he does need to start picking up again to get into this year's Grand National, which I think would certainly be one of the main aims for Tom with double shuffle. But he's been a grand horse, like you say. He loves Kempton, and all those years ago he was second to Mike Byte at 50-1 in the King George. So he brings that level of form if he can repeat that. And he looked to have all his old enthusiasm back at Kempton over Christmas when third to Royal Pagal, and he just couldn't go with that horse in the closing stages. He was incredibly well handicapped, I think, but it was a really good run on ground, softer than ideal. So yeah, I think he should run well. And it's a really tricky race, isn't it?
Who's on your shortlist?
Most of them. I mean, it's such a. I thought it was an impossible race, and it got that bad that I started looking at West Approach, and I thought,
hang on, no. Sorry. That dog's abuse you gave me. Dog's abuse. When I said I fancy this horse.
They're going to go quick in it, I think. That's one thing. There's a double shuffle likes to make the running, but there's a few in there that like to make the running. So I thought he might just pop round and a change of scenery. He always runs at Cheltenham, and I thought a change of scenery might do him good, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. And the one I've come down on is Glen Forcer, and this is only for minor stakes. But he hasn't run over this sort of trip since he won on his Chase debut a couple of years ago, and he looked a really promising horse at that point. He even ran, I think he went off second favourite for the Arkle that season. So that was the kind of level he was at. He didn't get round in that, but the wheels have fallen off a bit. But last season he ran third in that good handicap at the November meeting, went third to Old Grangewood. And this season he's been in some really difficult races like the Holden Gold Cup and then last time the Peterborough. So it's a leap of faith, but I think it's that sort of race where you need to take a leap of faith, because I couldn't make head nor tail of it. The ones that are in form, well, there aren't hardly any in form. The last time out, if you take the form figures, it looks like it should be on countdown rather than at Kempton. So I'm going to take a chance with Glenforsa, but small stakes.
I'm going to jump in there because I completely agree with you. Do you remember when he ran? He beat Kalashnikov. Kalashnikov was the talking horse, and everyone was saying, "Well, Glenforsy's coming back in trip. He's going to have the speed for it." And he did, and then he's been campaigned mainly over 2 miles. But then you go back, as you say, to that Chase debut, and he does stay this far. I think he's just well worth trying over a trip again. Look, he's rated 150. He's got to give a fair bit of weight away, but he is a really, really good horse on his day. And I also don't know that he wants, very testing ground. And I think at Kempton, speaking to the clerk of the course yesterday, if they survive the frost, it mightn't be too bad. So I think the fact that he's tackling 3 miles again, but hopefully not on very testing ground, will be a plus. He's the horse I like. I did like Rocco. I think a step up in trip will really suit. But I was surprised he was right at the top of the betting, and that just put me off a bit. And I thought Commodore, the Brian Hughes jockey booking, was interesting, and I was all ready to go, I wonder what their stats are together, Venetia Williams and Brian Hughes. But they've hardly ever teamed up together. I think it's only the 14th time they've ever teamed up. He's only ridden one winner for her. So, I mean, if anything, it's an interesting jockey booking. But I think in a difficult race, I'd rather take double figure prices, and 13.0 about Glenforsa is my selection. Clinging on to Jonesy's coattails. Deasy.
Yeah, I'd be very strong on Glenforsa as well. I couldn't believe when Jonesy put him up. I think I like in his last race, it says officially he was beaten 52 lengths, but he was leading coming up the hill, and he was only just just passed in and was given an easy time after that. He's well worth to go 3 miles. I think going right-handed around Kempton will be perfect for him. And like he's a lovely price as well, so I put him up. But the other one I was looking at as well was Cool Star Civila. Wouldn't be as strong on him though as Glenforsa, but I thought that he was absolutely punted off the boards for his last race. I think it was in was it the Grand Sefton? Just bringing it up here now. So they obviously think he's coming back to form, and he's getting a lot of weight as well. He's going to be about 10.0. So Glenforsa would be my main one, but I think Cool Star Civila could have a say in this as well.
For me, the hardest race of the day, and 3 of us have selected the same horse, which is we're on a hiding to nothing there, basically. That's
when everyone agrees, everyone's always wrong. I always think.
Yeah. But the thing is, you went first, so it's your fault. That's how it works.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, if you're copying me, you're in big trouble.
You're in massive trouble. All right, there we go. Glenforsa and Cool Star Civila for Dease, Glenforsa for Jonesy, and I double shuffle mainly in the place market for Adele. Let's kick on to the next contest at Kempton. And that is the 220. It's the rearranged Relkeel hurdle. Can I go first here? Because I really fancy McFabulous. I really didn't fancy him at Cheltenham at all. And I really fancy him now. I think so the prices are as follows. McFabulous is around about the 2.4 mark. Somerville Boy, who I really fancied for the Cheltenham race, as did Jonesy. I know 5.5. You never call 5.5. A point bigger is Thomas Darby, who I thought was interesting. Call Me Lord then is a 9.0 shot, and then we're into the double figures with Indefatigable and On the Blind Side. McFabulous didn't prove that I think 3 miles was going to be his bag, or was his bag at Newbury. I think coming back to this trip, and most importantly at the track, is exactly what he wants. If you look at his form last year, he looked a good bumper horse, and then he won a Market Raiser Novice before going to the track and winning over this course and distance in a handicap hurdle off a mark of 132. I'm not suggesting they were dicking around with him as such, but they got him pretty well handicapped for that. And I think he was a better horse than he clearly was a better horse than he showed in those novices. And then off he went to Kempton. Now that was the consolation race for Cheltenham, where they might have gone for a Cheltenham handicap. Well, they would have gone for a Cheltenham handicap, but he didn't quite get into that. So he rocked up at Kempton and he absolutely bolted in. I think he is a great bet for this contest at his current price. If it was at Cheltenham on heavy ground, no. But soft ground, Kempton, I think he's the best one in it, and he's going to probably be my best bet of the weekend. So there you go, McFabulous for me. Deasy.
I was actually talking to Declan Ricks last night, and I said, "Give me a price there on Tom putting up Thomas Darby because he's an Ali Murphy horse."
You just
he
abuse.
gave me 5-4. I made it a 4-6 shot, so I took the bit of the value there now.
And you lost your money.
You let me down there, Tom. You let me down there. I don't think McFabulous's form is that great now, to be honest. I would be quite against him. I think he beat absolutely nothing in the Persian War, and like his like on a line through Time Hill and Paisley Park last time, you have to give you never call a better chance. I put him up that race at Massive as I thought he ran a cracker, but I'm not going to put him up today. I am going to put up Thomas Darby. I think he is the lurker in the field. I think going up in this step up and trip will be very good for him. I think he's a very classy horse. I think at the prices he's about, is he about 6.0 or 6.5?
He is a 6.5 shot, D. 6.5.
Yeah, I'll have a bit of that, and I'm sorry for taking the piss out of you for potentially tipping him. Then I was like, yeah, I like him. I like You Never Call as well, but I think he's too short. But I think Thomas Darby has a great chance at this.
Thomas Darby for disgraceful DC. You haven't spoken to Ollie Murphy about the horse, have you?
No, I haven't. I presume you have. I presume he's
I don't want to worry you. No, I haven't at all. I promise I haven't. Yeah, I think I did say he was interesting, didn't I? I couldn't help it. Thomas Darby for you at 6.5. Win and place, Dees, or just the win mark?
No, just win. We just go for the win, yeah.
Why not? Only 7 runners. Adele Mulrennan.
I'm back. Tricky one. McFabulous. I mean, I think they're quite keen to probably take him chasing next season, is what we half brother to waiting patiently. I'm going to go for a complete outsider. It's just a shame there's not 8 runners with On the Blind Side, who very rarely runs a bad race, and he's a massive price. He likes it at Kempton. He can jump. He jumps well as well. He handles the track really well. He stays the trip well. I just thought he might outrun his odds at a track he does well at, and he never runs a bad race. You always get a run for your money with him. Taking on the favourite, Fabulous.
Yeah, Jonesy found him earlier on at a big price to win a handicap. On the Blind Side, 15.0. But I think he's a sort of horse, given the Matchbook exchange itself, you're going to get even bigger prices, I think, on the day about him in the win market. And I know you've got 7 runners, but win and place for him.
Yeah, I think he'll outrun his odds. I do.
On the Blind Side, and Steve Jones.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought Somerville Boy, Cheltenham on New Year's Day, when this was meant to be run, the race that he won last year, I thought he was maximum stakes kind of bet against McFabulous on that sort of ground. But coming to Kempton on better ground, a sharper track, sort of my confidence is on the wane a little bit. But at the end of the day, I still think Somerville Boy is the best 2.5 mile horse in the country. I think he proved that in this race last year when it was at Cheltenham. Again at Aintree when Thomas Darby was 3rd and Call Me Lord was 4th. And although I would have preferred it to be at Cheltenham, I think he's got so much in his favour that his form is very solid. It's better than McFabulous's form, in my opinion. And the fact that he doesn't quite stay 3 miles in the Stayers Hurdle last year, coming down the bank, he was going so well. You thought, God, he's going to win this by a street. But in the end, on reflection, he was going too well. And although he did sort of stay on a little bit, he just didn't quite get home. And they dropped him to 2 miles last time, which shows you the quandary. There's not many of these 2.5 mile races. And he ran perfectly well against Song for Someone in the international hurdle with Silver Streak in it. He was only 3 lengths behind Silver Streak over 2 miles. So although I feel a little bit disappointed it's not at Cheltenham, I still think he'll win.
DC, what price did Rixie give you about Steve Jones mentioning Silver Streak in a podcast?
Oh, we didn't talk about that at all, Tom. It was
really?
just you and your love affair with Ali Murphy. Yeah.
I'd have gone 2s on with Jonesy's love affair with Silver Streak. He gets into it, but we'll be previewing the King George at Ascot in the summer on the flat, and he'll get it in there somehow.
I did a Cheltenham preview a couple of years ago down in Barry in South Wales. And Tim Vaughan was on there, and obviously Silver Streak's trained by Evan Williams. and he was going, he'll be lapped, he's making an embarrassment of himself, and he finished third. So the next year we said, how do you think Silver Street's gonna run, Tim? It was all good fun.
Oh, there'll be none of those this year. None of those. They'll all be online.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. Right. Are we done? Anything to add to the Relkeel? Happy?
There's only three horses left in it that we haven't tipped. So yeah. we went covered.
No more shithousery from you, Deasy. You happy? No? Good.
Not in this race anyway, Tom.
Okay, good man.
We'll see how the rest of the day goes.
Let's kick on from the Relkeel. Just remind you of those. Somerville Boy for Steve Jones, On the Blind Side for Adele Win and Place, Thomas Darby for DC, and I'm with the favourite McFabulous. Then the Silviniaco Conti Chase is the 255. Prices as follows. Imperial Order is right at the top of the betting. Trading around about the even money mark at the moment. Master Tommy Tucker is 5.0, point bigger for riders on the Storm, 1.5 bigger for riders on the Storm, 6.5, and Clondor Castle 9.0. Go on, Deesh, you can kick us off with this one.
Master Tommy Tucker, I think getting £6 from Imperial R. I know Imperial R is a very good horse, but I think that 4 runners in this field will be perfect for Master Tommy Tucker. He'll just go out in front and jump away and jump him to death and keep going and win the race. So, Master Tommy Tucker. Simple as that, Master Tommy Tucker. I know I have great respect for Imperial R. I think he's a top quality horse, but I just think that because there's only the 4 runners, they will just, Master Tommy Tucker will go off out in front and do what he did against Goodbye Bobby. I can't think of the name of the race, but he'll just go off out in front, grand flat track from his one at Kempton before. He'll just jump him to death. I think he's a very good horse, and despite his age being 10, he's lightly raced. And yeah, I'm happy enough at 5.0. Just win on, or obviously win only. But yeah, solid. Adele, yeah, Master Tommy Tucker for you, Adele.
Imperial Aura. I agree with DC. I do think he's going to probably go out in front, but he's one of my favourite horses this season. He's been so well produced by Kim Bailey and David Bash. Together they've done such a good job with him. His reappearance at Carlisle was impressive. He was even more impressive at Ascot. He's learning all the time. He won't be far away off the pace. There's only 4 runners. It can obviously turn into a tactical affair, but he's a horse that I think so much of. He's very smart.
He's looked very good this season, hasn't he? Imperial Aura ran him at the even money mark. Steve, you found Imperial Aura earlier on this season, or I think all of us went against you. Who do you like?
Yeah. Did I?
You did.
Took some doing, didn't it? 13-8 or whatever he was. Yeah, he's going to be very, very hard to beat. He's top class horse, and I think I may have said this before on this podcast, but he won the 2.5 mile novice handicap chase at Cheltenham Festival that's been discontinued. Aplutard, Gold Cup contender, won the race, and yet we still have the Mayor's Novices Hurdle, which is just pathetic. Anyway, on to the Silviniaco chase.
It's not like Jonesy's got something against mares. It really isn't. I know it just looks like that. It just looks like that.
It's a terrible race. It is a terrible race. Anyway, even though Concertista is obviously a good horse, but Willie Mullins will win it again, and everyone will clap, and no one will be there to clap. So anyway, Imperial Aura, I think this is top class horse. Everything this horse has done has been excellent, and I think he's going to probably win. But I will say Clondor Castle is a good horse. There's no doubt in my mind. This horse wants good ground as well, so you're better off being at Kempton than Cheltenham last time, but ran a really good race in the Peterborough Chase, 3rd to Mr. Fisher. But the crucial thing there was it was quite badly hampered just as they were picking up. I think it was the 3rd last. When a horse of Venetia Williams, I think Fanon d'Estravel, fell. So that put him on the back foot, and he stayed on really well. So to do that, and he had good horses behind him that day. So I would say Imperial Aura, but keep an eye on Clondor Castle, because this horse will win good races. And I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Aintree for the 2.5 mile race. If it was good ground, he would go well in that.
Mentioned for Clondor Castle, but Imperial Aura for Steve. Imperial Aura, who won that novices handicap chase at the festival last year, which is also run on the same day as the champion hurdle, which Silver Streak tends to run in. I am going. I'm going to go for the horse we haven't mentioned. I think Riders on the Storm is worth a bet at 6.5. He look, maybe that race bottomed him at Ascot. That was the one that he was probably a touch lucky to win, actually. But the one that Surname came down in, he's a Grade 1. He's a Grade 1 winner, and as a result, he's got a £6 penalty. Mind you, so is Imperial Order as a Grade 2 winner. I think Imperial Order is the most likely winner, but I'd just say that Riders on the Storm is just a touch forgotten, and he probably needed a bit of time to get over that race at Ascot and Cheltenham. I don't think it's his bag at all. He fell in the Ryanair, and then he went and ran over 2 miles on his reappearance, which wasn't ever going to be right for him. But I just think going back right-handed, I thought he was just a bit discounted. I'd have thought he might be a bit closest to Tommy Tucker. He's got to give him £6. He's rated £5 superior, but I will be having a very small stake on Riders on the Storm. Let's kick on to the biggest field of the Saturday afternoon. That is the Welsh National. Well, of course, we did mention some horses for this. I'm going to go with the same one when it was meant to be run, but it's rearranged now. Does anybody have a comment, first of all, on Secret Reprieve under his £4 penalty? If we sort of frame the race around him at 4.5, does anybody want to chip in on how they sit with this horse? Whether, for me, for example, in a race like this, it just wouldn't be a bet for me. Does anybody have anything to add to Secret Reprieve and the price he's at?
The fact that he's £8 well in is a good thing, because the book is making very short. So it makes he might well win, but it's a tough race, the Welsh National. And being £8 in is not as important as handling the track and the conditions and the way that these sort of marathon races are run. He might be up to it, but the fact that he is obviously well handicapped, it's down on paper in black and white for everyone to see, takes so much out of the market. You get good prices elsewhere. And
do you think he's a certainty to stay the trip?
He's certainly got the pedigree to, and he's certainly got a chance of staying the trip. I don't think it's a stupid thing to try this, because that's the way he's heading. It's more the brutal nature of the race for a horse who's had 5 starts over fences and is still relatively young.
Go on, Josie, who do you like?
Had it been run over Christmas, I think Springfield Fox would have been a good bet again. It's poor old Tom's luck that all last season, they had a lot of horses that wanted good ground, and it rained all winter. And the time when you want rain for Springfield Fox and Somerville Boy over Christmas, he had too much, and the races were called off. So Springfield Fox loves steep ground. He showed that at Chepstow and Exeter last year when he won by a country mile. All he does is stay. He gets on the front end. He had a run over hurdles to protect his handicap mark, presumably, and he ran very well behind Oscar Elite back at Chepstow. He likes the track. He's very solid for me. They're going to go a good pace, but I think that doesn't worry me that he will be one of those setting the pace, because in my opinion, in these marathon races, you want a horse that gets up there and just gallops and jumps, and that's what it will do. The likes of Yala Enki, Lord de Menil, they'll be up with the pace as well. But those two, there's an interesting stat with those two, because Yala Enki's obviously off top weight 11.12, Lord de Menil's off 11.5. If you go back through the winners of the Welsh National that carried that sort of weight, the Native River was off 11.12, Synchronized 11.6, and Master Oats 11.6, and the only other one in the last 30 years, Carville's Hill, off 11.12. Well, that's 3 Gold Cup winners and one that should have won the Gold Cup. And the only other one was 2 years ago, Elegant Escape, who, because of that stat, made me back him in the Gold Cup at 20-1, and he didn't win. So for me, in this race this year, you've got to be looking at lighter weights. Springfield Fox has got 10 stone 9. Obviously, Secret Reprieve is down there of 10-1, but he's way too short for me. The other one I got a feeling about is Big River, who, again, stays very well. He likes soft ground. He does like to be dropped in, but there'll be a strong pace. So if he can cope with that, he's run very well in the Ultima Chase at Cheltenham twice. He was fourth behind Beware the Bear a couple of years ago, and then last year fifth, only beaten 3 lengths by the conditional. So he's got the class and he's well enough handicapped, and he's also 11, which I like in these marathon races. I like a battle-hardened horse. So that's my 2. Springfield Fox for the win, but I would have a little bit to place on Big River.
Springfield Fox, who is 9.0, and Big River, who is, I think, 21.0. Yes, indeed. Adele, last time we didn't officially preview the Welsh National, actually, but your handicap bet was one of them was Truckers Lodge. Are you sticking to your guns?
Yeah, definitely. He's got some really good course form as well at Chepstow, as he ran there 6 times, 3 wins, 2 seconds. Hasn't quite had the rub of the green this season. He won the Midlands National by 18 lengths last March, and then unfortunately unseated at Kelso in the Edinburgh Gin Chase. So at the prices, I think you'd be mad not to have a place bet on him and a win. And just touching on what Jonesy says about the weight-wise, looking at something just down at the lower weights, I actually quite like as well, and you can back him for a place, is Christmas in April, who won the Sussex National last January. After that, he won the Devon National last February. I thought he made a promising start back in the Southern National. That was after 8 months off. So I think he's around about probably the same price as Truckers Lodge. So those 2 in my... I've got 2.
I do too. And Jonesy has Big River 11.0. Try again. Truckers Lodge 11.0 and Christmas in April 11.5. So similar sorts of prices. I agree with one of each of yours. I put up Truckers Lodge, as did you, on the last pod, and I'm going to stick to my guns. Yes, he's carrying a big weight, but he was pretty inexperienced when he ran well in the race last year. He's carrying a lot more weight, but he's got another season on his back, and I think he's just worth supporting at that price, given what we know. You know you're going to get a good run for your money. There might be something better treated in there, but I thought he was a far safer play than the shorter price about the favourite, for example. And he should be a better, stronger horse this year with more of a chance for all his shouldering more weight. And I do really like Big River. I've got to stop letting Steve go first because it just looks like I'm copying him. But I do like him. He ran in the Scottish National on ground which wasn't going to suit. He ran okay, but I think he has won on good ground, but the last 2 wins have come on deep ground. He's going to get that here. And a marathon trip on testing ground, I think, is exactly what he wants. And, he's got that form, as Steve said, running really well in the Ultima a couple of times. So I think he was a very fair price at 21.0, Big River. So those are my 2. Deasy, you've landed some big old prices and some handicaps recently, so no pressure.
I don't know, is today going to be the day for another one?
Well, there's no Irish Raiders, so you might struggle.
Yeah, I thought the other horse who was £8 willing, Violon Rouge, was a cheeky enough bet. This now he's about 21.0 as well. Won very well at entry last time, like you said. Now he's £8 willing. He has run in it before. He was just pulled up when he lost his chance, but he's 12 years old. He'll stay all day. Should be fine on the ground. I think he's a nice place bet at the very least if you're going to get 4 or 5 places. And the other one was Christmas in April, because he's just a horse that runs in nationals and is aimed at nationals and is made for nationals. So I would go for kind of a winning place bet with Christmas in April and a small win and a place bet on Violon Rouge.
I like the £8 willing angle under his penalty on Violon Rouge. I don't sort of fancy him for the race. You can make a case that he is overpriced with Conor O'Farrell back on board, who's I think won on his last 2 starts on him, and he handles the track as well. So I wonder what are you concerned about with him? Is it a trip question mark? Do you think is that why he's the price he is?
Yeah, because I don't think he ran in it before. I think behind Elegant Escape, and he just didn't finish out. He was pulled up, and maybe he's just an entry specialist. He's must hold the record for most fences jump to the entry without falling. But he has won at Chepstow before. He won over just 3 miles. So. On soft ground, but maybe the extra 6 furlongs could stretch him out a bit. But I think he's well worth to go on this race, because this is going to be an absolute slog. And in slogs, I prefer to go for older horses. I would always go for I don't know about her back in a 10 or 11 or 12-year-old in marathon races, because they might lose a bit of speed as they get older, but they'll still have the stamina and they'll have fitness built up over the years. So that wouldn't put me off his age at all.
Please can Chepstow pass its inspection, please. Right, Kempton, I know. Kempton, we go for the 3:30. I love this race. It's the Lanzarote hurdle. I'll give you prices here, even though they're fair, given that we've got a nice big field. 20 going forward for it. Everglow is 6.5, point bigger for Misty Whiskey, 7.5, 9.0 Shang Tang, who didn't get very far at Wincanton last time. Big Bad Bear and Glyn and Hunter's Call, One True King are all about the 11.5 mark, and then we get to bigger prices. Adele, lead us off with the Lanzarote hurdle. How many? One or two on side here?
I've got one. Shantang is a horse that I do like. I've been following this season. He was obviously didn't get very far last time out, caught out there at the first at Wincanton, which does happen. You know, it's a sharp jumping track. Before that, I thought he won impressively enough at Ascot. So I've got him down as one to kind of watch. Not one to watch, but I still think there's more to come. And at the prices, I thought he was well priced. I think you can have a place bet on him and a win bet.
Yeah,
Everglow.
Say again.
I'm going to take on the favourite, Everglow, and go for Shantang. I think there's still a bit more to come from him.
Yeah, Shang Tang, who has shortened up a bit, 9.0 now. I rate that Southfield Harvest form from Ascot. I backed them both at Wincanton when Shang Tang didn't get very far and Southfield Harvest looked the winner and then finished second to a horse I thought was thoroughly exposed. So there you go. But I do think it's good Ascot form there, and they could both still be well treated going forward. Jonesy, what about you?
Yeah, we were all agreeing today because I really liked Shantang. I thought that Southfield Harvest form, as you say, was good. But I thought the run before that was just as good at Wetherby, when third to Arrivederci and Warlord. I think that's really strong form. And Arrivederci looked like he was going to win that race at Haydock, going back in November when he fell last or two out. It was actually won by Warlord. And I thought that was really solid because Arrivederci and Warlord sort of came to the stand side of the straight and Shang Tang stuck to the far side. Whether that was an advantage or a disadvantage, I'm not too sure, but it certainly was a good run there at Shang Tang. I thought the ground there was a bit softer than he wants. He really travels really well. I think this sort of race, 2-5 around Kempton, when you know they're going to go quite quick, and he'll just be able to cruise into it. I'm really strong on him. And the other thing is, Emma Lavelle's in good form. I think she was operating sort of 20% strike rate over December. And her horses are obviously in good form. So, yeah, I think Shang Tang's got a great chance. The one that I've got a sneaking suspicion at a massive price. Well, I presume it's a massive price. I didn't quite look. But Mount Muse must be a big price. Tell me it's a big price.
Stand by, caller. Stand by. Well, yeah, it's not massive. 18.0. 18. Well, it's a big price, isn't it? Blinker for the first time, 18.0.
Yeah, exactly. Blinker for the first time. He's tried cheap pieces before. Has obviously had problems since the glory days when Mount Muse was finishing runner-up, I think, to Pingshu in the Grade 1 at Aintree as a novice. That's a fair old while ago. But ran really well last time over 3 miles at Carlisle, and I thought just dropping in trip on a sharper track might just help him out a little bit. And at that sort of price, especially with Donald McCain in such good form, and Brian Hughes takes the ride. Do you know Brian Hughes' only winner at Kempton?
Waiting patiently.
Yeah.
Waiting patiently on this day 3 years ago. So yeah, so I'm really keen on Shantang, but I would be interested in Mount Muse, certainly place market.
So Shang Tang and Mount Muse. Mount Muse is a fair old price, 18.0. Shang Tang is about 9.0. DC.
I thought this is the toughest race of the day now, to be honest. So, seeing as you go put up Shang Tang, I put up a few. I can see this turning into an absolute slog of a race. It's the last race of the day. I can see it being very sticky, holding, kind of gluey ground, and I think you're going to want to stay more than 2 mile 5 to win this. So the first one I was looking at was Emma Laville's other horse, actually, Borum Bill. He was unlucky to lose. He finished third behind Storm Goddess, and you'll never call last time out at Kempton over 2 mile 5. Jumped the last. I think he was actually the lead for a few strides, but he got run out of it. He's about 16.0. I think he's a good shot for a place bet. The other one was Big Bad Bear. I thought that his last run, he absolutely clouted the last stop running, lost a couple of lengths, and still got up to win. I think he won by 2 or 3 lengths fairly comfortably in the end. I think he was almost even eased off. I think he definitely has a few pounds up his sleeve. He's never run this distance before now, so I'm taking a chance on him. But Nicky Richards is sending him down. There would have been other races probably up north that he could have gone for. He sent him down for this. And he's been supported a small bit for this now. I think you're going to be getting about 12.0 on him. And the last one then, which would be a very, very small bet, but his big price, is the Cashel-Man. The Cashel-Man will stay this trip. Will probably come to the second last, absolutely tanking and looking like he's going to skate home. And maybe he won't find anything, but I think he will stay. He's about 21.0. He's a nice big price. He might even drift. Because he's very hard to win with, but I think Nicky Henderson wins this most years. It's Nicky Henderson or Nick Williams over the last 10 years that kind of win this race. So I think you have to take note of him running. So I would have a very small win bet and a nice chunky place bet on the Cashel-Man as well. But the main one would be Borum Bill.
Borum Bill for Emma Laville, Big Bad Bear, and the Cashel-Man. What I think is good, I nearly went with Big Bad Bear because I want to have. This is probably not the way to have a bet in a race like this, but if you're narrowing down the field, I like to have a conditional, a rider claiming in this contest. Because if you go back, Sapphire de Rue, Harry Derham claimed 5. Following year, T for 2, Lizzie Kelly claimed 7. Charlie Deutsch claimed 5. Yala Enke following year. Then some bloke called Barry Geraghty won it. James Bowen claimed 5. William Henry. John Joe Neal claimed 5. Big Time Dancer. And then Burrows Edge won it last year. And I thought that was an interesting enough angle just to find a rider who's claiming who you like. And Kevin Brogan, got to get that right, haven't we, Jonesy? There are 2 Kevins who are very good, Kevin Bruder and Kevin Brogan. Kevin Brogan has looked very, very good, and he's on Amour de Nuit, who's carrying a fair bit of weight, but he ran really well back over hurdles last time. He's 13.0, and I think Amour de Nuit is worth a bet. He's a course winner over hurdles before. The trip is fine, and yeah, he's carrying a fair bit of weight. So, but I will definitely have a little bit on him. And the other one, I have no idea if this is the worst bet in history or whether it's going to look very clever. But Solo, off a mark of 144, who won the Adonis here last year and looked absolutely brilliant, and it didn't work out subsequently, I just think it's worth a go at 17.0. There's just a chance. Paul Nicholls won it with a 5-year-old a few years ago, Sapphire de Rue, and I think he's worth a small bet at 17.0. Win and place for both of them. He could just be well treated. They said they're going to start really slowly with him. Because they've basically gone back to basics with him. So he's had 2 runs, which he probably needed. Paul Nicholls has said he'll be when he's a chaser next year is the time that he's going to really fly. But, this tends to be a race for young hurdlers to win who go on to make it as good chasers, which is why I put up Amour de Nuit. But, we make our arguments to fit our horses, don't we? And so those are the 2 I'm having on side. Both Paul Nicholls train. It's like the Paul Nicholls appreciation from me. Ollie Murphy's going to be gutted. Right, best bets. That's done us for the Lanzarote. Best bets then for the weekend. Deasy, you can kick us off. Who is your best bet this weekend?
I'll go for Master Tommy Tucker in the Silviniaco Conti chase.
Master Tommy Tucker for you. I can't fit it on the page that I write them down on because you put up 3 in the Lanzarote, but quite right too. Master Tommy Tucker. Jonesy.
I was tempted by Shang Tang, but hopefully Adele will go for that one. I've bottled it because I'm going to go for Ellen Valley. I'm going to take those on in the Juvenile at Chepstow in the Grade 1.
Ellen Valley for you. Adele, your best bet this weekend?
I was going to go for Imperial Aura, but it's probably a bit too short, so I'm going to go for Trucker's Lodge.
Truckers Lodge, win and place, like that. He's very much on my shortlist. And I am going to go for the good thing, McFabulous. Just touching off Thomas Darby in a photo. Cue absolute abuse on the WhatsApp group. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Great scenes. Thanks, everyone. Well done.
Thanks,
and if it's all off, have a great Saturday afternoon. Adele, thank you very much. Jonesy, thank you.
Thanks.
And DC, lovely stuff. Chat again soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget that you can listen in the normal places and watch in those normal places as well. Hope you've enjoyed it. Best of luck, whatever you're backing this weekend. Bye-bye.